All right, we are live here on the Pick Six Podcast pregame show. Will Brinson here, along with Jacob Gibbs and Mike McClure, to look at the 3 games slated for Saturday in what the NFL and apparently our bosses, I think, too, are calling the Super Wild Card Saturday. I feel like well, first of all, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing well. I'm excited for Super Wild Card Saturday. Is tomorrow Super Wild Card Sunday, or is it just Saturday because it's Super Saturday?
Good question. I don't know. Jacob, do you know? Do you know the answer? Are you locked in with the corpos up top to the suits who will tell it?
I'm not privy to that information. No, I'm excited for Super Saturday though.
I get it. I mean, they added an extra game. It is kind of annoying in the sense that my wife hates me right now. And we had my son's birthday party scheduled today, but we had to move it. It was like it's supposed to be happening right now, and so I told her on Wednesday that we're doing a live Twitch show. We're also live on YouTube and maybe some other places as well. We're going to break everything down from a gambling and DFS perspective, looking at all 3 of these games coming up today. But I told her on Wednesday we moved the birthday party, and so now instead I'm up in my office, and I told her as I was leaving to come up here, I will see you on Monday, right before the national championship game. She's not very thrilled. But you know what? 3 games of football is awesome. Like and we're basically wall-to-wall football from, noon if you're tuning into this, or for in our cases, noon to like 2 a.m. is going to be nonstop football. It's pretty exciting.
Very exciting times. So much going on. I got to do basketball today too, but it's gonna be hard to focus on anything but these football games.
You hit what'd you hit? Have you been hot over on Sportsline, I think, Mike? Is that correct?
Yes, on the podcast, the Early Edge podcast. We've had a good week over there. Good NBA week in DFS. So it's been a good few days. I had
an NBA DFS lineup that was running hot last night. Got into the top 75 of a 45,000 person tournament, and then came right back to earth, but that's okay.
You need the Raptors game probably started and killed you.
Yeah. Who did the Raptors play? Was it the Lakers?
Kings.
Oh yeah, they scored 90 points in the first quarter or something like that. Something insane. All right. Anyway, let's talk some football. So, oh boy, hold on. My son is coming up. What's up, buddy? Robbie, we are 5 minutes into this live. Well, do you want to come be on the show? Here, come here. Go get. The iPad is about to die. Look, there's a charger right there. Grab it right here on the edge. Come over here. Come over here, little Mario Maker. Right there. Grab that charger. Grab that. Well, go take it downstairs. See ya. Have a nice trip. Well, that was fun. He's currently wearing Mario Brothers pajamas, which seems like a good life. And his iPad's dead, and he's going to play Switch instead. Anyway, let's get to the game. So we were talking about this before we started. And actually, any overarching thoughts on these 3 games? It's the way they split it up is interesting in the sense that Bills Colts, which is on CBS at 1:00, is a premier game, but it's also a 7-point spread. And then the 2, like the later game, I don't know. This is like Sunday looks way more exciting than Saturday, just in terms of the games itself. Am I off on that?
No, you're definitely right. Two of these games have the largest spreads out of like the entire weekend. And I don't know. It's we've talked about how like beforehand, how it's going to be all the chalk's going to be on Josh Allen. And I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to go, but that game is definitely the most exciting. So I think that's where most people are going to gravitate.
Mike, I don't know. We don't know where you stand on the Bills Colts, but we'll find out. Are you surprised that line hadn't moved to more than a touchdown? Because it does feel like everybody is on the Bills. And I do see it William Hill now as of 12:07, -6.5 to the Bills, juice to -115. I would be shocked if they move it to 7 though, because I think you would see it get peppered immediately.
Yeah, no, it would definitely get hit hard the other way if they do. The news came out. We knew that Diggs was going to play for sure and Beasley was likely going to play, but we have that official confirmation. So that and just the public in general rushing to bet the game, it could potentially get there in some spots late. But the reason why I'm not surprised is like in my simulations and looking at like other people's power ratings and everything, I can't make this game more than 5.8 to 5.9, maybe 6 points.
Wow.
So I know that the Bills have been hot, and some of that is a little bit difficult to account when you're modeling things like that. But in this spot here, no, I would be on the Colts. Doesn't feel great. The good news is lately in the NFL, like six is a good number, right? I wouldn't bet it under 6, but as long as I'm getting +6, +6.5, it's essentially like getting +7. I know that sounds crazy to say, but it is, especially in cold weather. It's very, very similar. So I like it at +6.5 on the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, I think the traditional key numbers, which I mean, it still exists, like 7 and 3 still matter obviously in the NFL. I mean, that's the point scored. That's how the points are scored. But I mean, not as much, especially if you start looking at like a guy like Frank Reich, who's really aggressive. Maybe I think, he's similar, comes from Doug Peterson's school of thought. It wouldn't be shocking if it's a tie. The Colts go in to score a touchdown to tie it or close within 1, and he goes for 2 because he doesn't trust Rodrigo Blankenship or something. Jacob, what's your initial thought on this game look, everyone and their brother out there, not just like is on the Bills here, but feels like there's so many people who believe the Bills are like better than the Chiefs now, and it's a little surprising to me because, like, I get it. I mean, I get it. They've been awesome the last few weeks. They've been outstanding. Have put up a ton of points, blew out the Patriots and the Dolphins, clinched the AFC East. I get it, all of it, but it does feel like they're a little too popular right now.
Yeah, I think the hype's gotten a little bit out of control. But I also don't like betting against Josh Allen. I mean, he just keeps proving us wrong. But yeah, I think on paper, I kind of lean towards what Mike said. I think that there is some value there to be had with the Colts, but like we've alluded to, the Bills are trending up. The Colts are kind of trending down defensively. They've really kind of shown some signs of weakness in the secondary lately. They're not going to have Rocky Sin. I don't know. I think I would bet the Colts, and I think that they line up pretty well against Buffalo in terms of what they like to do and what Buffalo likes to do. I think they can exploit some weaknesses there. We'll probably get into that more in the DFS side of things, but yeah, I think if I was betting, it'd be on the Colts. Yeah.
All right. So I'm obviously on the Colts. I mean, I have a freaking Phillip Rivers plush doll right hanging out in my house. I mean, like clearly I'm going to take the Colts. I should probably put that back there. So I didn't see that coming. I didn't think that all three of us would get on here and be on the Colts. It makes me feel better though, because so many. Again, I know that line movement doesn't mean quite as much in 2021 or 2020 as it used to, because it pops all over the place. There's money coming in from different places. You'll see crazy different lines in different spots. But at the same time, I mean, the fact that it's 6.5 is a really tempting number if you've seen this team and how good they've been. I kind of tend, Mike, to think that this game. Angriest, who has a lovely little YouTube avatar there, it says, as a Bills fan, it's scary. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, if I'm a Bills fan, here's the other thing. I've heard RJ White and I'm trying to think of and Mike Leone, who works at EstablishTheRun.com, is a big Bills fan. Both of those guys who are sharp dudes. RJ, of course, is managing editor at CBS, is always on the podcast. Leone is a really good DFS player. I mean, they're both Bills fans and they're both confident about this team. Like, I would be that's not a good thing. Like, you should not be, as a Bills fan, hosting the first home playoff game in 25 years and being like, I am so confident we're going to blow out this team, who, by the way, is coached by Frank Reich, who led the greatest comeback in like NFL history in the Bills stadium. Are you not worried about that at all? I mean, it's out of control, right?
I don't know how anyone could feel like any of these games, really. Like, even Tampa Bay fans, you should be worried a little bit. Like, I know we'll get there in a bit, but like, I don't know how anyone feels comfortable with their team in this spot.
Yeah. Kyle the Snowman, who's watching on Twitch, points out, as a Ravens fan, don't get overconfident. Great point. I mean, the Ravens were huge favorites last year, and they were supposed to blow out the Titans and waltz to the Super Bowl, and they just didn't do it. I do think the difference is the Bills, like, they played so aggressively in the final 2 weeks of the season. It was almost like they wanted to send a message to the Pats and the Dolphins and the rest of the NFL and to the AFC East. But Kyle, as Kyle points out, like, you can't. I don't know, Jacob. To me, one of the concerns I would have is that does that carry over directly to a playoff game? Because you could see them pucker up a little bit here and not be as aggressive because it's a big playoff spot.
Yeah. No, I think that there's definitely something there. I just worry. I'll just go ahead and talk about the zone man splits. It's something that I've been tweeting about. It's something I worry about with Josh Allen potentially. Is he's been much, much worse against zone in his career, and he's facing one of the most zone-heavy defenses in the NFL. His career touchdown interception ratio is 34-11 versus man versus 14-20 versus zone.
Wow.
And that's just touchdown interception. So like that, I don't want to give too much weight to that, but like it does illustrate that he's clearly, had some struggles against reading zones. And Indy, they don't blitz. They're dropping 7 back at one of the highest rates in the NFL. And it's something that he's made strides. He's improved this year, but it's still one of the few, weak points in his game. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Frank Reich and the Colts have got some schemes here that kind of confuse him early on in the game. And if the Colts are able to get a lead, like I think they're going to be able to run the ball against the Bills. The Bills have definitely shown some signs of susceptibility to opposing running backs. There we go.
It's not an official McClure video until Chief shows up. That's all right. Let's run through the other 2 games as well before we'll come back and circle back and do a deep dive in. And we'll talk about Jacob has some great stats too on Jonathan Taylor, who I think is primed for a big game. The next game up, Rams and Seahawks. This line is rancid. I mean, absolutely heinous. The Seahawks are -3, and we don't know whether Jared Goff is going to be able to go or not. And I mean, Mike, it sounds like, it sounds like he's trying to go, and McVay's behind him, like, using a butter knife on his hamstring, trying to keep him out of the game so he can go with Walford. I mean, that's sort of the vibe I get from this. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think that I that's exactly how I'm reading it too. I really don't think that it matters as much. I think that there's very small difference between the two in terms of the impact to the point spread in this game. So I think it's priced appropriately. I don't think anyone truly knows who's starting yet, and I don't think it matters in terms of that number. I don't think that number is moving based on who starts.
I'm a little mad, Jacob, that we don't know who's starting because, and obviously it's this is the 4:40 game. Is that game on? I should probably know this. What is that game on Fox? Is it only on Amazon? What channel is that game on? At the Professional Football Writer.
That's a Fox game.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Rams Seahawks. What's wrong with me? It's been a long day. I think that with that, like, I'm mad, Jacob, that it's not up because I want to bet on John Walford over rushing yards, and I think that's a slam dunk prop. But I'm worried that we're not going to get it because they're going to announce it so late that we won't see it posted.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be posted. Honestly, very many books just because of the late news. But you can definitely take advantage of it in DFS. I mean, he's so cheap.
Oh wow, yeah.
I don't think people are going to be on him either. Yeah,
I mean, so all right, let me ask you this: are you playing? There's a 6-game slate with both days included, and a 3-game slate. I think we're mostly talking about DraftKings when we talk about the ownership, roster rates, and all of that. Are you guys focusing? And you first, Jacob. Are you focusing on the 3-game slate, the 6-game slate? Where's your head at in terms of how you're entering contest?
Oh, I'm definitely like in on each slate. 3-game today, 3-game tomorrow, 6-game. But yeah, I mean, for today specifically, I actually really like Walford just because I think, like we've talked about, everybody's going to be on Josh Allen or maybe Tom Brady at the top. I don't think he's as viable on the 6-game slate just because there's some pretty good quarterback options tomorrow.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm mostly playing just the 2 individual 3-game slates. I will have a little bit of action on the 6-game, but mostly the 2 individuals, and then a lot of showdown slates that I like to play.
It feels like DraftKings primarily put most of the prize money on the 3-game slates, right?
Right.
Yeah. They definitely want you to invest the money and pay rake twice for sure. That's how.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah. It's not like they're stashing that money on Saturday night in Bitcoin or anything like that.
Right.
What did Bitcoin open at today?
I was at 41,000 this morning when I looked. I don't know where we're at now.
What does Chief think? Cuccarelli asked on Twitch.
So what Chief thinks as far as the game, like the pick on this game, is that what you want?
Just what's rolling around in Chief's head, I guess. Is what
I mean, Chief's fired up anytime the camera and the lights are on. And the worst part is when we do football, the Kansas City Chiefs always come up. And then yesterday I was talking about Lonzo and LaMelo Ball, and the dog hears ball. Like, it's the absolute worst trying to do a show with him sitting there. But
it is tough. I never even thought about that. My dog George my son left the door to my office open, so I'm guessing that George at some point will wander up here. So on Rams and Chiefs, I like the idea of playing Walford. I hadn't even really rattled around in my head, but I think and we'll dive into the game in a minute, but if you go Walford, you can probably get it just unlocks a ton of different options around the slate. How about that? Actually, you know what? Let's move to we'll hit up the final game. Buccaneers Washington. That line is moving pretty quickly, and if you read the tea leaves last night, Jason Lockenfora tweeted it. It all kind of came out pretty quickly. Like you saw it go to the national. And I mean, if you do this long enough, you can kind of figure out how news works in the NFL. Like you see a lot of national guys get news, and then the local Washington beat reporters get the news 15 minutes later. It's pretty obviously a situation where the team is leaking out, and they're doing it in a way where they're saying Alex Smith is trying to make it work with his calf, but the calf is just not responding, which is a really nice way of saying Alex Smith is a great guy who tries really hard and he's not playing. I mean, that's sort of how I read it. Did you guys read it differently?
I think that I don't have a great read on it, right? I think that we actually could see both of them. I think we could see him split snaps.
Okay.
Man.
I think
it'd be a mess, but I think it could happen. I definitely think it
starts, and then we see that's a gigantic Kong that Chief has, by the way. And Chief is welcome to hang out. This is Twitch, so as you know, Mike, it's like I like Twitch because it's much more casual, and you don't have to worry about feeling like I didn't want to wear a collar today. I don't know if I do. I think we see Heineke, Jacob. How about you?
Yeah, I really have no read on it either. I don't think it makes much of a difference either way. I hope they don't split snaps. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I want Heineke in there mainly so I can take the Alex Smith. The Terry McLaurin unders, because I think his numbers are pretty juiced up right now. It's like 68.5 or something like that, and I think unders are a good look there. All right, let's dive into the games. Do a deep dive on the Colts. We'll start with the Colts-Bills. We talked about it plenty. As we mentioned, right now at William Hill, it is Bills -6.5, -115. So it's just hanging on a cliff, like they're daring it to teeter to 7. At which point, again, it'll be smashed by. I think so. It seems like this is kind of a pros versus Joe's line in the sand to start off the playoffs, right, Mike?
For the most part, there are some sharp bettors and some sharp people still on Buffalo, so it's not like a total pros versus Joes, but it's sort of shaping up that way in the market. Certainly, a lot of the tickets are going to be on the Bills there. So yeah, pretty. I can call it a pros versus Joes. Okay. I hate to say it that way, just because I know a few very sharp people that are on the Bills.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, the Bills are awesome. I mean, here's how I look at this game, Jacob. I think that it is, and it doesn't profile this way when you think about it in your head, but I think it's kind of similar to Baltimore, Tennessee last year in the sense that game script may dictate how this game ends up against the spread. For instance, I tend to think that if Indianapolis can grab a hold of a lead early on, that sets up really well for him, because then you are getting downhill with Jonathan Taylor, and you are forcing Josh Allen to press and to be aggressive against that zone coverage that you talked about. And to me, that is not a good formula for Buffalo. Conversely, if Buffalo gets up 14-0, we're going to see a whole lot of Phillip Rivers closing his eyes and staring up into the sky as after a horrible pick six.
Yeah, for sure. I think it could get out of hand, honestly, pretty easily if Buffalo does get a big lead and Indy has to be more aggressive throwing downfield, like you talked about. The Bills have been really, really good at preventing downfield passing. So if it gets into that type of game script, it might get ugly. But if the Colts are able to keep competitive or get a lead, I think that they really have a chance to surprise Buffalo here. And just like we've talked about already with the Colts zone defense, they keep everything in front of them, and they really limit perimeter receivers. And I don't know. I think if it gets into the situation you described there, Allen might struggle. We might see some of the bad Josh Allen, which we haven't seen in a while. I hope not, but could definitely happen.
I mean, we saw it, Mike, last year, and he's been really good in primetime games since that horrible second half of the playoff game against Houston, which I think sets up well for this. But there's also just this unwavering confidence that we've seen from everybody out there about Josh Allen and how he'll perform. And I don't think it's necessarily guaranteed that we don't get some just horrific Josh Allen mistakes. And that's okay. Like, that's just who he is. We saw Debo put it up there. Reader said that the Josh Allen, and we can, if we can toss this William Hill prop page up, he said that the Josh Allen passing yard line, if I could do one thing with William Hill, it would be to organize them by position instead of by team. That drives me absolutely insane that they do that. I'm trying to find some friggin' Josh Allen here, guys. There we go. Josh Allen, total passing yards. He called it a good line. Over 305 and a half. Mike, when you look at your simulations there and what you get, and by the way, if you want awesome content from Mike and Jacob, and you want to win your fantasy leagues, you want to win DFS, you want to win money gambling, go to sportsline.com and use promo code what? Boom. White.
Mike White.
Mike,
touchdown. Mike will work. Yeah, I'll take some credit.
Yeah, use promo code use sportsline.com/join. Use promo code Mike. You get all the simulations. You get all the information there. It's fantastic content. Picks across the board for every sport. What do you like? Do you like anything when it comes to Josh Allen? By the way, look at Xavier Rhodes, total tackles and assists. If that's your
two things there. Number one, Will, on your keyboard, there is a control button and an F. You can do that and search if you want. Okay. Just letting you know, you can do that. I know it's annoying, but if you want to find something, you can search for it.
Nice. Azer. Thanks for watching, Azer.
Yeah. So I actually don't have Josh Allen going over 305.
Okay.
I think the number is quite efficient there. I have him at 299.
Okay.
And so obviously he easily has upside to go over that. Like,
for sure,
a 400-yard game from Josh Allen's not going to surprise anyone. But the media number on it is just under 300 for me.
Okay. What else? Anything else stands out? Here we go. Sorely 3 on Twitch wants to know, what do you think about Jay Taylor and Stephon Diggs plus 2 touchdowns? So is that Taylor and Diggs 2 touchdowns each at 26-1? I guess I don't hate that, but my concern, and you guys maybe speak to that better, I think Taylor can easily score 2. The Colts will lean on him in the red zone a ton, I think. The problem with the Diggs thing is that you probably need them to be long touchdowns to feel good about it. And I'm not sure that Indy is necessarily, with the way they play coverage, going to give up big touchdowns. Now that it could certainly happen. You saw him hemorrhage big touchdowns against the Steelers. But Josh Allen is such a weapon with his legs in the red zone that I would be a little concerned about that. How about you guys?
Yeah, between that and Cole Beasley being active as well, I think there's a number of targets that Allen's going to be able to lean on. I do think in some of these spots with his legs, right? I think we get to the playoffs here, you win or you go home, right? I think there's going to be a lot of times where he might look to keep the ball and run it himself if he possibly can. I think that's something that we should probably see a lot from a lot of the mobile quarterbacks in the playoffs, but I think that's something we'll definitely see from Josh Allen. So,
Jacob, any thoughts on that parlay that Sorley's working on to retire?
Yeah, I don't think I would do that. If you wanted to take a long shot, I might do it with Cole Beasley. I really like the spot for Cole Beasley if he's healthy.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just, again, kind of going back to the man zone splits. I'll just go into detail on it real quick.
Yeah.
So Stephon Diggs and John Brown have both seen their numbers go down like significantly when facing zone, which is just pretty commonplace. Zone defense is just going to funnel more targets to the middle of the field, the short intermediate options like running backs, tight ends, and slot receivers like Cole Beasley. Beasley actually leads the NFL in terms of players who have at least 50 targets versus zone coverage. He leads the NFL in yards per route run against zone coverage.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. His yards per route run has jumped from 1.54 versus man to 2.64. And he's also targeted at the highest rate of any Bills player when facing zone coverage. So against a Colts team that plays a ton of zone, if he's healthy, if he's not, just out there as a decoy, I think we could see a big game from Beasley here.
All right. So with that in mind, what do we think about Beasley's over 44.5 receiving yards there at William Hill?
Like I said, if he's healthy, I like it. It's hard to know for sure, like what capacity he's going to be able to play. But yeah, if you're confident in his health, I would take that.
I agree with that. So looking at my numbers there, I'm pretty confident just because, especially at this point in the season, right, things get relatively efficient with these numbers, especially when they've been up this long.
Sure.
I'm usually within, very small number from my difference between me and their line. I have about an 8 to 10 yard edge over the market on that play. And what that looks like to me is that the books are shading it. They may or may not, the health is definitely in question is what I'm taking away from that. If you think he's perfectly healthy, definitely hit the over. I have that there, but I'm making the assumption that he's healthy, and looking around at the market definitely doesn't seem to be making the assumption that he's fully healthy here. So do with that what you will, but if you think he's healthy, I would play the over on that number.
Is it possible that with the way that this is lined on the market, and I'm not going to Beasley over 42.5, lock it in, Mr. Lip Dog on Twitch says, man, that's a good 42.5 is a great number if you can get that. I also wonder, because this is the gambling space has become so competitive in terms of where, people offering odds, what you can bet on, all the different things you can bet, where you can bet, that it's almost imperative for a book to put up a Beasley line, even if he wasn't announced active. Like once it seemed like he was probably going to play, and that's sort of where we were at, I think as late as Friday. I mean, you sort of had to put it up there if you're William Hill, right? Like you can't not put it up there because people will go bet somewhere else. And there's too many other options. It's too competitive. And so I wonder if I almost wonder if that line it's like when the super contest does a line and we don't know about the quarterback. In other words, they're just trying to hedge out of it by keeping it low so people don't blitzkrieg the under and he's limited. We find out he's limited snaps. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For sure.
Angria says on YouTube, I might take receptions over yards, but I like the prop. The receptions total for
while you're looking for receptions, I would also just throw in real quick that I love the under on John Brown with Cole Beasley playing, especially. John Brown has been the one that's been hit the hardest by the zone splits. His yards per route run has been cut in half. And he actually has the 5th lowest target per route run rate on the Bills when they're facing zone defense. And like I said, Indy just doesn't give up deep passing. So, I mean, he could break a long one, I guess, and get that in one play. But I just don't think he'll be quite as involved with Beasley healthy and the matchup here.
All right, so you see Brown there over under 55.5, heavily juiced to the over. Maybe with Brown, the play is to take his receptions. I think it was what we see 4.5. I mean, that's a lot of receptions for John Brown in a game, and I love Smokey, but I mean, it's you're paying for that juice on under 4.5. But I mean, I can't see a scenario where John Brown with a healthy Cole Beasley out there ends up with 5 catches in this game, right?
Yeah, I like the under on both catches and yards.
I'll tell you what, Golden Bar. Let's hit first TD prop for this game. So, God, it's 12:30 already. That's insane. So first touchdown. I've got 3 guys I like here, and the first one is the easiest one for me by far, and it's Josh Allen because he is, I believe, 9-1. That's what he was on Friday when we did our show on CBS Sports HQ. Yep, still 9-1 there. Taylor the favorite at 7.5-1, and Diggs at 8-1. I also like Zach Pascal at 20-1 just because he's seen a pretty decent amount of red zone targets for the Colts so far this season, and Nyheim Hines at 16-1, I think is pretty good value. I also think Trey Burton at 33-1 is pretty sneaky value because they like to use him in the red zone, and he's priced way down because Jack Doyle soaked up a ton of snaps last week. Mike, anybody you're targeting from a first touchdown perspective?
It'll definitely be on the Colts side. They're just a lot more value, it seems, in some of these numbers here. So I like Nyheim Hines quite a bit, just in general in this game. I also will be taking the over 50.5 total yards for him. But Nyheim Hines would be my favorite play at that point right there.
Okay, so 16-1, Nyheim Hines is your play on first.
And if I was taking a Bills player, it would be Josh Allen. As I do think we do see some Josh Allen rushing for sure.
I mean, Josh Allen has 9 rushes. Math V7 says Bill's going to pull a trick play on their first touchdown. You know, the other thing about Josh Allen, too, is that last year in the wild card game against Houston, they threw him a touchdown pass. So, like, that would still count, right? He doesn't have to run it. He can catch it and run it in, and that would still count. I like the bold call by Math V7 there. Jacob, anybody that strikes your fancy from a first touchdown perspective?
Pascal is actually who I was going to hit on. The Bills really struggle against the slot, and that's, like you said, he's been somebody they targeted in the red zone. And I just like the value there.
Okay, I dig it. I'm now checking out to see if I have Hines in or not, because I think wow. I mean, don't I feel like a sharp? Look at this. Look at me. I'm just like flapping up a couple of names that I kind of like, and the intelligent DFS sharp guys here are in on it. All right, from a DFS perspective, when you look at this game, and if you're on Twitch or YouTube or watching us anywhere, and you have a question about a particular prop or out of any of these games, let us know, and we'll happily dive into it. Let's go over to DraftKings and look at this from a DFS perspective. Oh my goodness, am I going to do this without screwing it up? That would be incredible. So on DraftKings, Josh Allen, by far the most expensive quarterback, and feel free, don't feel like you need to just stick to this game when we're talking DraftKings. We can sort of do an overarching view because there are 30 minutes till lineups lock here. Josh Allen's going to be by far and away the most owned rostered, I guess, player on this slate. I mean, how high does he get for you, Mike, in terms of what you're looking at from an ownership perspective?
I think he'll be 50% in tournaments. I think half the field will have Josh Allen.
Okay.
The pricing's not super sharp this week. You can easily get Jonathan Taylor, Stephon Diggs, like in lineups with Josh Allen, really pretty easily. No. Add that we don't necessarily know who's starting for Washington. We don't necessarily know who's starting for the Rams. They weren't going to take a lot of ownership, but they, could potentially take 10, 15% combined between all those players. This is the first game you lock it in. He's got the highest median projection by a meaningful number. So I'm going to say between 52 and 58%. Okay.
That's pretty stout. Are you looking his way, Jacob, when you're building out lineups? I mean, how are you overweight, underweight to the field? What do you think here?
I think I'm going to be a little bit underweight if he is going to get up to 50 or 60%, but you definitely have to have some Josh Allen if you're making multiple lineups. There's just not very many options at quarterback, and so if you're fading Josh Allen, I think you need to be doing it intentionally. You know what I mean? You need to be building the rest of your roster to benefit from a poor Josh Allen showing. You know what I mean? So whether that's doing something off the wall, like doing a Jonathan Taylor Colts defense stack or something like that. Whatever, you think the correlation play is there. But I'll have some for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be kind of foolish to just completely fade Josh Allen.
There's not any other good options really. If you're completely fading him, you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And no, I'm not going to be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's definitely a route where Josh Allen doesn't have a great game. I mean, the Colts, we've seen this. We've seen them do this versus plenty of teams where they could just eat clock, limit Josh Allen to, I don't know, like 6-7 possessions, just run Jonathan Taylor, have Rivers dinking and dunking, and, you turn him over a couple of times, and all of a sudden, you're basically hoping for garbage time in the second half. I don't think that path is that crazy, Mike.
Yeah, no, it's not crazy. Like I said, the issue is there's just a lack of other plays that really have high medium projection or even a high ceiling, frankly, in these matchups.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Looking at running backs, Jonathan Taylor, the highest priced guy by a full $2,000. How are you approaching Jonathan Taylor on this slate? Is he a must start, or do you feel like you could fade him? Does he, do you worry about the correlation with Josh Allen, et cetera?
Lock button play for me. I have him in 100% of my lineups. So.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I definitely like Jonathan Taylor here. Like you've kind of alluded to, I've got some stats on Taylor that I really like. That we can get to if you want. But for me, I think Cam Akers is the number one running back play. But Allen is right behind him. And just in terms of, point per dollar.
Okay. So talk about Akers. I mean, the Rams, we don't know who's going to start at quarterback for him. That game's at 4:40. Actually, let's just go ahead and slide into that game because we talked a lot about the Colts and Bills already. With this game, I think the Rams, I've come full circle on it. I think the Rams are going to win outright. I don't care. Wow. I don't care if it's Walford. I don't care if it's Goff. I think the Rams are just going to win. And it's I don't know at wide receiver. Obviously, DK Metcalf is is going to be popular. He's not as expensive as he was during the peak of his powers. I don't know that you want to play him against Jalen Ramsey. Your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, if I'm looking between the two, I will definitely have more Tyler Lockett than DK Metcalf in this game. I don't necessarily agree with you that the Rams are going to win the game.
Nope. Okay.
I like Chris Carson a lot. I have a ton of Chris Carson as well, but I'm not really playing any DK Metcalf. I don't think I have any, to be honest. I think that's one that I'd have to go look and see if I have one team with him in there, but it's way underweight. Basically, we talked about maybe taking a stance on just not playing Josh Allen. DK Metcalf is one guy that I'm projecting 25% of the field to have that I will not have.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything we've talked about with like the Colts defense and playing super zone heavy and preventing like deep passing, that is the Rams to a T. The Rams are like the perfect example of it. They play more zone than anyone. They play zone over 80% of the time. They prevent deep passing, and only 54% of targets against the Rams this year have gone to receivers, which is the second lowest in the NFL. And when we look at like Russell Wilson's target distribution when facing zone, DK Metcalf is by far the player that has seen his numbers drop the most. His target per route run rate is down by 5%, which is way worse than anybody else. Like Tyler Lockett's actually has barely moved. And then you like Chris Carson a lot. Here's a good stat for you. He has a 23% target per route run rate when facing zone.
Wow.
Which is up 4% and is actually the highest of any Seattle player. It's higher than Lockett even. And he doesn't run as many routes as Lockett, so that doesn't mean his target share is going to be higher than Lockett. But when he's running a route, that's, I think, somebody that Russ is going to be targeting a lot. I think he'll be on the field more than we saw during the regular season.
All right. So what sort of props are you looking at then? Or if you like anything on that game in particular? I also like the under in this game. I think you'll see both teams eat up clock. Pete Carroll's conservative as hell. Sean McVay gets touted as an offensive genius, and he is, but he also gets touted as like this aggressive young hip coach, but he's really just Pete Carroll, like he's a Benjamin Button version of Pete Carroll. Golden Bar 1 says Russ will drop the microwave and start cooking again. See, I disagree. I don't think they'll let Russ cook. I think they've taken away his tools, his spatula, everything, Mike. I don't think they're letting him cook.
Yeah, it's going to be a heavy dose of Chris Carson in both the ground game and the passing game, in my opinion. Like Jacob mentioned there, I do think we see him a lot more than we did during the regular season. Again, you win or you go home, right? They're gonna use him. They're gonna use Chris Carson. Like I said, I expect pretty big usage in both the run and passing game. I do not expect a lot of deep passing to DK Metcalf, as we just talked about. So, give me a lot of Chris Carson.
Okay, Jacob, so do you guys think? I mean, I'm gonna pop over to William Hill. I'm not going to share it because I don't feel like flipping back and forth, and I'm scared I'll screw it up. But do you think the Chris Carson over on receptions then is a good play?
I don't know what it's set at, but I would definitely be interested in it, just kind of because of the splits we just talked about there.
It is set at 2.5.
2.5. That's kind of what I was going to guess. Yeah, I think you can definitely take the over there.
Okay. You agree, Mike?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at my actual numbers now, too. I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm going to have to go see if I can get that everywhere that I bet, too, because my median number on that is 3.6 receptions for Chris Carson today. And I like it. It's very high. I also have Chris Carson in almost every single lineup. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of Jonathan Taylor, Chris Carson.
Okay, so instead of building your lineups around Josh Allen, you're building around Jonathan Taylor and Chris Carson, which, I mean, I think the Taylor thing gives you some leverage off Allen, right? Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I think that there are scenarios in which you really just want to play both of them. Jonathan Taylor has a good game. The opportunity is going to be there for Josh Allen to have a big game. They're going to have to keep up in some way, but he has a rushing floor. Like Allen's a fine play. I have a lot of Josh Allen. You can easily play Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Jonathan Taylor, and Chris Carson in the same lineup. Like the pricing's not super strict this week at all.
So in other words, don't worry so much about trying to be contrarian and just be right.
I always recommend being right if you can. That's probably the most important thing. But I mean, you could definitely be contrarian and leave salary on the table. Like obviously, the highest leverage thing you could possibly do is probably not play Stephon Diggs today. He's going to be the highest owned player by a considerable margin. So if you're looking to get a little bit different there, I don't think you have to be crazy. And look, it's you fade Stephon Diggs. He has a big game. It's pretty impossible for him to have a big game without Josh Allen having a big game. So you can still play and get some exposure to that success by having Josh Allen still. So if you want some leverage, that's definitely the play, is to not play Stephon Diggs in one of those lineups.
Interesting. So in other words, don't fade Josh Allen, fade Diggs, and just hope that that they double him or shade a safety towards him. And Allen is, as you point out, like Cole Beasley is a perfect recipe for attacking his own coverage, because he can just sneak around, like a little creepster. By the way, I just got my Nyheim Hines first TD in. So I'm a Zach Pascal, Nyheim Hines, and Josh Allen first TD guys in that game. Anybody for first touchdown in Rams and Seahawks, and or any other props that you like in that game? Sorry, Mike or Jacob, either one, dive on in. Sorry.
I was trying to pull the lines up, but so I could see the actual numbers on some of the first touchdowns.
I'll tell you what, why don't I see if I can share it? I'm not very good, in case you haven't figured it out, at operating a computer, which is bad because I do this for a living. I've like fully morphed into old man, like old dad life, where I complain about how I can't utilize technology. It's pathetic. So first touchdown here, 7-1 for Chris Carson, 7.5 for Cam Akers, 8.5 for Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf 8.5. I mean, it feels like there's some value in some of these Rams guys, particularly like a Tyler Higbee at 22 or Gerald Everett 25. Any thoughts there?
Higbee is who I was going to bring up. Everett I like as well. The Rams have just been using more 12 personnel when Cam Akers has kind of taken over the backfield as the year went on. So that's more 2 tight end sets. So we've seen the snap rate for both of those tight ends go up quite a bit. And then when you combine that with the fact that Seattle plays a ton of zone defense, that could funnel targets to those types of route runners. I would take one of those tight ends if I were going to make a long shot bet.
How about you, Mike?
I agree with that completely. I like Tyler Higbee. I have him a little bit in DFS on DraftKings as well. So yeah, it would be Higbee for sure. Or you could get real crazy and go down to like Van Jefferson or something if you want to just get real crazy. But
let's put Van Jefferson on there. I like there's no cap, and I don't mean that in the cool way that kids are saying it. There's literally no cap on the prices here, I guess, unless you think 100-1 is expensive. Yeah, Van Jefferson 50-1. I don't hate that. They use him out of the backfield to catch a touchdown earlier in the year, and that could be certainly. I think this is a kid. I mean, like it's a playoff game, win or go home, as you point out several times, Mike. I mean, Sean McVay's going to kitchen sink this thing, especially if he's got John Walford out there. And you know what? I don't. Do we see is Walford? I guess Walford at 20-1 isn't crazy. I like that too. Like that dude might just get loose with his legs. I mean, he runs the ball. He ran the ball a ton in the AAF. All right, let's get to Tampa Bay and Washington. So this line has flown up to 9 now on William Hill, over under 45. Any initial thoughts on this game for you, Jacob?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about Tom Brady in this game, actually. I don't know if this is something that very many people realize, but Over the past 2 seasons, unqualified quarterbacks, no one has a worse completion rate when under pressure than Tom Brady at 39.5%, worse than Drew Lock, worse than Jacoby Brissett. Like, it's been the dead worst in the NFL for back-to-back seasons now. And he's going against Washington front seven that could definitely get some pressure here. Tampa Bay's offensive line has been good, but they also haven't faced very many good pass rushing units to this point. So I'm a little bit worried because if he is under pressure a lot, he could struggle like we've seen, and that could mean, fewer opportunities downfield for Mike Evans, for Chris Godwin, some of the guys you might want to play in this spot. And it's a really good Washington defense. I don't want to take anything away from them, so I am a little worried about Tom Brady.
Man, that's so I've been thinking all week long that Washington was live because if you look at the teams that Tampa Bay lost to, I mean, they profile similarly to Washington, like teams that get pressure without blitzing, teams that get pressure on the interior. And I agree with you, Jacob. Like, if they pressure him and they knock him around early on, I think they'll start doing that thing where he's like angrily, like, and lazily, like lobbing a football up deep. Mike, are you feeling a big game from Tom Brady here, or are you concerned?
No. Not feeling a big game from Tom Brady. I don't necessarily want to say that I think that Washington's super live to win outright. I think they're absolutely live to be within the 9. The Washington defense is great. They're a very, very good defense. And as you guys have kind of pointed out, they can put some pressure on Tom Brady. You never want to say that you hope someone gets hit early, right? But like, I hope they put a hard hit on Brady very early in this game. I think that the defense is the difference here, right? I think that they can put a lot of pressure on them. It's just the question is, can they do anything offensively? We don't know for sure who's playing at quarterback, but I don't think that they're going to do enough offensively to win the game outright. But I do think that they can stay within the 9.
Yeah, I think it. Jacob, I agree with you both. I liked Washington within the 9. I think if you were taking, like, you could get. I saw 7.5 this morning, though. I mean, like, if I could get 7, I think I would take Tampa Bay. I'm just a little worried that. So here, it all boils down to this for me: is Bruce Arians going to be stubborn about his offense, or is he going to try and get the ball out of Tom Brady's hands quickly and get it to Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown underneath? Because if you do the latter, I think Tampa Bay could slaughter Washington. Like, you get the ball out quick and let those dudes run, and this game could be over. But if you try and sit back and let Tom Brady take deep drops and chunk the ball down the field, this is how Washington will just like blitz, not blitz him, but like blitzkrieg him and just pepper him into the ground.
Yeah. I have a sneaky play in this game on the Washington side of things, and it's J.D. McKissic actually, and so it's somewhat dependent on Brady being able to put points on the board. So like if the projected line comes to fruition and Washington is playing from behind, McKissic's going to be on the field more.
Yep.
We've seen him be kind of the negative game script back all year, and this is a pretty obscure stat, but I think it's pretty fun. The Bucs rank 5th in blitz rate and 2nd in pressure rate. So they've got a really, really great pass rush here and could definitely get to Washington. And here are the NFL's leaders in targets per route run when their quarterback was blitzed. Number 1, Devontae Adams. Number 2, Darren Waller. Number 3, Alvin Kamara. Number 4 is J.D. McKissic.
No way.
Yeah, 33%. And like, if you look at this list, it's not a fluke. All of the players on there are like this safety valve. They're like the go-to guy for their quarterback. You know what I mean? When the quarterback is feeling pressure, like, he's going to this guy. You know what I mean? I think 5 is Stephon Diggs, and just like going down the list, it's the number 1 guy for each team. And McKissic has been that guy, and it's not even inflated by Alex Smith. I thought it might be, but I looked at his splits when Alex Smith was playing quarterback, and it was actually slightly lower than his rate on the season. So I think there's definitely a realistic scenario here where Washington gets down early and has to pass a lot, and they're under pressure a lot. And if it's Heineke, Smith, it doesn't really matter. They're not going to be able to push the ball downfield very much. We could see. What's the line on receptions for McKissic? That's what I would be.
Brought it up. In the words of Adam Schein, let's just say we're sharing a brain. 4.5.
Yeah, I think he could double that. If the game script's right.
Over 4.5 minus 160. I think you lay the juice there and take the over. I would take Mike. What do you have that popping up for you simulation wise on McKissic receptions?
Looking that up now, but whatever it is with the game script, the way that we think it could potentially go, he might have 4 catches on one drive.
Right.
He got targeted at one game this year like 14 times. I think it was 12 times in the first half, which is just out of control. Woodsy66 asked McKissick or Thomas for flex. I assume that he is asking McKissick or Logan Thomas and not Michael Thomas on the 6-game slate. Would you guys rather have Logan Thomas or McKissick on a draft for a DraftKings flex?
Probably McKissick there. I would play Thomas in a tight end spot. I don't think I would be playing a second tight end in most of my builds there. I would much rather have someone like McKissick or Nyheim Hines, frankly, in the flex over Logan. So if it's truly a flex play and not just deciding only wanting to have one of the Washington players, then it's definitely McKissick for me.
Yep,
okay.
Me too.
Okay, cool. So yeah, McKissick is the play there for you, Woodsy. Andrew Schaefer on YouTube wants to know, is there an over-under for Chase Young sacks? I'm going to take Mike's advice, and I'm going to use the Control F. And in fact, there is tackles and assist over 2.5. I mean, I might take alt like sack total over 2.5, just the way that he's playing. Although I don't love the bear with Brady coming out and saying that he's like, I'm coming for Tom Brady. I would guess I don't see a sack thing on here on William Hill, but I would guess it's like 0.5 and probably juice to the over, or 1.5 and juice way to the under. One is probably the number you're popping up on any kind of simulation there, but I don't hate that tackles and assist at 2.5 at all.
No, I think there's some upside to that for sure.
I love the under in this game as well. I took it earlier in the week. I think it was like 47. It is all the way down to 45, I think. Yeah, 45 here on William Hill. Any thoughts on the total there?
I mean, under is definitely the way I would lean. I don't see, frankly, I don't see Washington putting up enough points to really get it there, unless it's just a total blowout by Tampa, where Tampa contributes 35 of the points, which is obviously well within the range of outcomes. But I would lean towards the under, even still at that number. I'm not playing it personally, but if I needed a play on the game, it would be under for sure.
Yeah, I would lean under as well.
Yeah. All right. So we got 5 minutes till this thing happens. Any you start with you, Jacob. Oh, and thanks. JXTXM says, love the show. Hearts from the UK. Hearts right back at you, buddy. Jacob, if you're what sort of, this is kind of I don't know if it's I missed the props for the Colts game from Johnny Deep. Anyone, I know. I wrote down some of them. John Brown under, Cole Beasley over receiving yards 44.5 or 42.5. We all like Nyheim Hines, Zach Pascal, and Josh Allen as first touchdown scorers. But I'll let you guys, what's your card kind of looking like for that early game? And then feel free to expand on it for the later games, Jacob, just stuff that you've like, we've covered a lot of it, but like stuff you've actually played or want to play.
Yeah, like I said, I during the show I actually put a few different bets down on Beasley wherever I could find him, just because I'm waiting on that news. But he's the main one. I think where I've got the most leverage on the people that are setting the props, and that could come back to bite me if he ends up being hurt. But yeah, other than that, I think you covered pretty much every angle that we've covered so far. Do you have anything else, Mike?
No, I mean, I played Hines over 50.5 total yards. I think I would be comfortable playing that up to about 57. So,
okay.
So I like Hines. I like McKissick. I know that's not in this game, but I like both of those players. I think they're excellent leverage plays because pricing is not strict at all. It's very easy to play Jonathan Taylor. It's very easy to play Chris Carson or Cam Akers, all three of them in a lot of lineups, right? So that alone is going to lead to ownership numbers that probably are a little low on guys like McKissick and Hines, who I think will be 15 to 20% owned, and all the other guys above are going to be double that. So
okay, yeah, I think the McKissick overs, the receptions and the receiving yards, I love. Is Hines, is that game script dependent for you at all, Mike, or is that just regardless, you think he's going to be involved a lot?
I think he's going to be involved a lot. I mean, the only scenario that it doesn't really happen is,
Colt blowout. I mean,
Colts blowout. Colts take the opening kickoff, march down the field and score. Josh Allen throws a pick. They're down. They're up 14-0. Things could get a little goofy that way, but overall, I would be. A lot of people are expecting a blowout on the other side potentially. I don't think we see a blowout either way, but I don't think it's going to be a Colts blowout win. So I think Hines will be involved.
Oh, this is fun. I just logged into my local and found out that I apparently put down a gigantic Saints-Alabama moneyline parlay last night at some point in the evening, which I don't remember doing at all. That's good. So I put down, I had JD McKissick over 5.5 receptions minus 125 for 2 units. Ronald Jones under receiving yards 9.5. That was RJ's one of RJ's bets from the podcast show earlier in the week. I have Trey Burton, Zach Pascal, Josh Allen, and Nyheim Hines' first touchdown in this game coming up. Marquise Brown, that's tomorrow, over receiving yards. We'll talk about that. We have Larry Hartstein and I think RJ White joining us tomorrow. So many money line parlays this week. Yes, there are a lot of money line. 12 steps. That's a good handle for talking about gambling. Or other things. Anyway, 2 minutes till kick. And I would say there's one more that I saw in here that I had that I liked. It was I like the Jonathan Taylor over rushing yard 78.5. I got that this morning. I mean, I just think he's primed to break a big one, and they're going to feed him, and they're going to try and turn this into a grinder. So I like that as well. Anything else from you guys? We'll get out of here and go watch some football.
No, I think we covered it all.
Cool. That was a fun, fast hour. You guys are the best. Thanks for all the great insight. The Finley tat. That's right. Ryan Wilson is going to get a Ryan Finley tattoo. It's going to be amazing. Thanks so much for doing this. You guys are the best. Make sure you go to sportsline.com/join. Sign up there. You can get a first month for $1 if you use promo code Mike. You can probably get first month free right now. They're giving away tons of stuff, and you get a subscription to CBS All Access. So if you cut the cord, you could actually watch the Bills and Colts game with that free subscription. Guys, thanks again. Awesome stuff. Let's go win some money.